Hi, everyone. Today I'm joined by Jeremy. Hi, Jeremy.
Hello,
Introduce yourself for everyone.
my name's Jeremy Rye. I work with the land. I listen to the land and I create with the land as a landscape architect, but also as a person who walks and pilgrimages through the land as well.
Amazing. We're going to explore a lot more through the three objects that you've brought us today. Let's start with your first one.
The first one, it is this. Let me bring it close so you can actually see it. This, undescribably, is a hat, clearly, but I got this in Morocco. And what I love about it and why I chose it today is that it effectively is made in the fields from a material that grows naturally, isn't cultivated. It is something that in design terms has evolved to be something that's suitable for 365 days of the year, for all sorts of weathers. And when it no longer fulfills its function, it will just rot away. But if you look at how it's been created, it's one long line of almost like braided material that goes round. And so it's just a very efficient way of creating something that is beautiful, fun to wear, and actually fills a function. And that is exactly what I love about design and about the way we can work with the land and work with things. We don't have to create anything new, we just have to be inventive with what's already there. So this was my first object.
Do you know what material it's made up of?
It's a grass that grows on the side of the fields, effectively, as far as I understand it, from what I was told. And it's made within villages for everybody in the village. Obviously now it's sold to the likes of myself when I was there, but you see them everywhere and you see people using them in the fields all the time. So it's not quite got the I went to Morocco stamp on it. Literally, it's just, and apparently the weave, you can tell which area or which region it comes from because they've always done slightly differently. That's just a tradition rather than anything else. It's incredibly sturdy and just beautiful. I've worn it in the rain and it performs as well in the rain as it does in the sun. So for me, it's just a very beautiful item.
Amazing.
It was a very, very beautiful function and has no impact on the earth whatsoever.
What is your second object for us?
My second object, wait for it, it's a picture. And what I love is the sense of this feeling of walking under trees. So you can just imagine yourself stepping on that path and just walking down towards the light. And so I hang it where I can see it at a distance. Let's leave it here for a second. And imagine myself walking down. And one of the things that I most love is that sense of being in the wild and being in a landscape that is not managed, but is not discernibly managed at all. It's not cultivated or it's not sort of formalized in any way. And how that has an impact on me and my sense of well-being and my sense of myself. And seeing that every morning as I do, as I come out the bathroom, it feels like you're just, for your day, it's calm. You're walking down through under trees. And so I love it. I inherited it from grandparents that sat on their dining room wall. And I loved it even then. And it has been a source of some inspiration in terms of how I want people to feel when they're in some of the landscapes I've designed, but also how I believe that by getting people out into this sort of environment, giving them this sense and this understanding, that they can get something of themselves back and an understanding. So,
do you know where what's pictured? What?
It is a wood in Belgium. My grandparents bought it on their engagement trip to Belgium. Nice. Apparently, there's a pair. The other one is still beautiful, but it doesn't do this.
And what is your third object?
My third object is Well, it's a bit of a mystery in a number of ways. So I'm going to just see if you can see it. It's a tiny cup, and you can maybe just see through the sun glinting on it that it's heavily embossed and heavily designed. And it's crafted, so it's a single piece of metal. There's actually, which you won't be able to see inside, a sort of seam that goes up the back of it, and then a handle with these amazing little critter just sitting on the top of it. I love it because it's travelled with me. I know I acquired it from a grandparent. I know I've always thought it was beautiful, but it's one of those objects that I can't quite remember where it came from. But just the handling of it and the refinding, you know, sometimes it's in a cupboard or it's on a shelf and you, oh my God, that's just so beautiful. And it just tells a story. Embossed within it is peacocks, and there's lots of foliage and flowers. And all of this must have been symbolic to somebody at some point. I have no idea how old it is, anything about it, or even where it was acquired from, that it arrived with me. But when I was thinking about the 3 objects, I got to 2 and I was like, I'm fine. And this was like, no, I want to play. I want to come in on this. I want people to see me. So I was like, okay, well, you could do that. And it's just a thing of beauty that gives me a joy. And I think that's also what things should be. But it has the idea of the symbolism, even though I might not be able to read it. I love that. I love the idea that somebody's put messages or put things in it that we can look at and find our own meanings for it. I don't know what.
Do you think that that's something that you also try to do, which is not only perhaps interpret other people's symbolisms, but also apply your own, and create your own symbols through the work that you do?
Yes. I mean, one of the things I'm fascinated in is some of the historic landscapes were built around giving you symbols about myths and legends and gods and goddesses. There's a particular one called Rarsham up near, then in Paris, in Oxfordshire, that was all built around symbols. And if you can understand the sculptures and the rhythm that they occur in, you can find a story. And I do love doing that as well in what I do, is either it's about understanding the patterns of how that landscape has come to be how it is and how you can evolve that, or sometimes it's just putting different things in there that relate to the current owners or add your piece of the story to the landscape that you're designing, not relating to you, but relating to the history and where it's going to go. I think it's important. I think it adds humor, but it also adds a different layer to what we work with.
It sounds like you're, creating a secret language, which sounds really exciting and really, would make for a completely different way of working in your field.
It is, but it's a secret language that I think has been around for centuries. In terms of using the stories that we have within the world of say, gods and goddesses, and relating them to how we live our lives, rather than it just being a literal take on it, to say, oh, what does that sound like, or what's the metaphor behind that, or how does that work? I think there's a joy in not everything being completely upfront like this. I don't quite know why I've got it.
That's an amazing set of objects to have shared with us today. Where can people find you, Jeremy?
You can find me on Instagram under Jeremy Rye, or you can look me up on my website, which is www.jeremyrye.com, and you can see my work on the landscape all in there, and anything else I'm doing at the moment. It's all in there.
I recommend that you take Jeremy out for coffee and talk to him about landscapes, or get him to walk you around a piece of landscape, which I was very privileged to do very recently. Thank you so much, Jeremy, for sharing your 3 objects with us today.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure, real pleasure.